So the big theme for this week was the Knockouts, putting the ladies in the spotlight in a way that WWE really doesn't with their women. Maybe in an attempt to capitalize on that hashtag Give Divas a Chance thing, showing that TNA is doing what WWE refuses to? Points for effort, TNA. Your hearts were in the right place here. But a night of knockouts? Not exactly. More like a night of more knockouts than usual. So instead of 1 or 2 segments, they get 4, which, nevertheless, is still a hell of a lot more focused than the Divas get. And overall, if you're a Knockouts fan, I think you were probably pretty happy with what they delivered for TKO. But I still haven't gotten my royalty check, TNA. Just saying. Our first of the 4 segments is the #1 contenders match. Is it worth pointing out that Havoc still hasn't gotten her rematch for the title? Apparently not, so I guess we'll just move on. This was a little slow in the beginning when the heels were in control. Angelina's really not someone you want dictating the pace of a match at this point, but it picked up toward the end, and the finishing sequence was a lot of fun. The whole thing was a big showcase for Brooke. She's who the match was focused on, so you kind of knew she was going to win, but that's not a bad thing because she should have won. Madison and Angelina have no business being in the title picture anymore, and Gail doesn't really need the title at this point. Brooke is the freshest character, she would benefit the most from getting this spot, and she was the most over in this match. Plus, with her being a babyface, and with that recent TV match that she had with Kong, they kind of made you think that Kong was going to win the title, so you didn't see that big swerve coming. It was pretty clever, actually. Then we had the debut of the Dollhouse that's been hyped up for a few weeks now, and their opponent... And that's what I'm going to call her, dammit. God bless her, but the name Laura Dennis ain't going to sell many t-shirts. I like the match. Cherry Bomb got the crowd behind her instantly, which makes the fact that she apparently has not been signed at this time all the more distressing. Seriously, what are you waiting for? In one match, she got more over than Madison Rayne has ever been.
Oh, you were not aware of this?
As for the Dollhouse, Mia Yim, or Jade, can definitely wrestle. No complaints there. However, I think the gimmick may need a little fine-tuning. They come out to that weird playtime music that's so low-key and subdued I could barely hear it. And they're dancing around like, yeah! And then they act like spoiled little 5-year-olds throwing a tantrum when they don't get their way, like, ah! Ah! I think I see what they're going for, but I don't know if they hit the mark necessarily. The act felt pretty awkward to me. But they were able to draw a good amount of heat when they attacked Christy Hemme, so maybe it's just a matter of tweaking it a little bit. But the big positive about the Dollhouse? They're different. TNA had success with the Beautiful People in 2008-2009, and they've been trying to replicate that formula ever since with these heel knockout duos that mostly felt like half-assed retreads. They tried it with Angelina and Winter, didn't work. Tried it with Madison and Tara, didn't work. They tried reforming the Beautiful People several times, didn't work. This feels like a real attempt to do something new. Sure, the gimmick may be a little out there, but they don't feel like a Beautiful People knockoff, and they're not trying to be one. They're brand new characters, their mannerisms are different, their shtick is different, and if nothing else, they feel like something fresh and original for a division that really needs fresh and original things. Yes! You know, I think this Mickie James retirement speech would have felt more impactful and meaningful if she hadn't just come back after being gone for a long time. And I didn't really expect her to be back permanently anyway, so this didn't really come as a shock to me, but it came off very well, the crowd loved Mickie, and had that been all this was about, I would have been like, okay, cool, hashtag thank you Mickie. But James Storm coming out when he did really elevated this into something else. This wasn't Revolution James Storm, he was in full-on babyface mode, and this is why James Storm is so criminally underrated on the mic. He had this crowd practically eating out of his hand, got them so hyped up for Mickie to wrestle one more time that even Mickie couldn't help but get swept up in it. James Storm is so fucking good at this kind of stuff. You can see why the writers gave him that Revolution cult leader gimmick in the first place. Because the guy has so much charisma and such an innate ability to make people like him, and that worked so well here. And yeah, he's probably up to no good here, but the crowd didn't see it, Mickie didn't see it, and you can totally understand why they didn't see it. And that's what made this work so well. Okay, Terrell versus Awesome Kong for the Knockouts title. I have to say, I was disappointed with the match. They built up to this for a good couple months, but it was only about half as long as it should have been given all that build-up, and the only thing I can really remember about it is the finish. And yes, the finish with the powerbomb through the table was good. The swerve was good. I always liked the double turn angle where the face turns heel and the heel turns face, and I thought it worked very nicely here. The story makes sense, with Terrell being so desperate to beat Kong that she just had to use heel tactics. But I did feel a bit cheated on not getting the match we were promised. The whole thing was about the angle at the end, while the match itself felt oddly truncated, like they were holding back. I do think we'll eventually get a real blow-off match with these two, but not getting it here felt a little out of left field, despite the swerve itself being a good one. But I'll say this for it. TNA used a long-time established female talent to put over 3 newer girls and help really cement one of them as a top knockout, which TNA have been very reluctant to do over the years for reasons I don't understand. So this is something that has really needed to happen for a long time, and it seems like it did here. And that makes me happy. The only drawback in all this? It's another faction. Because apparently 3 on this show just wasn't enough. But Lord knows we couldn't have the women doing everything this week. I mean, come on. An entire episode devoted to nothing but knockouts? What kind of TKO show would that be? Ahem. I just didn't care for this opening segment. And it's not because of the Eric Young thing, although that's part of it. Angle and EY are having the prototypical I respect you promo exchange where the babyface meter is dialed up just high enough to make you suspicious, and EY says that Angle's not going to get the old Eric Young, he's going to get the best Eric Young. Alright. Just for clarification, which Eric Young is the best Eric Young exactly? Is it the one who was afraid of monsters? The one who fought Scott Baio on a golf course for the TV title? How about the one who married ODB in his underwear? Is that the best Eric Young you're talking about?
Of all the greats I have studied, I assure you I have never heard of that man.
I'm just saying. Eric Young has a very long storied history of doing a lot of really stupid shit. He didn't start acting like a more serious character until maybe the last year and a half. So when you say we're going to get the best Eric Young, we don't exactly have a whole lot to draw from there. Personally, I much prefer the idea of Aries going against Angle. But please explain to me why Austin Aries, a guy who was supposed to be really smart and really crafty, would choose this night to cash in his Feast or Fire title shot, deliberately torpedoing Eric Young's match with Angle, thus practically guaranteeing that Eric would retaliate and screw him over at the worst possible time. I mean, what the hell did Aries think was going to happen? I understand the story, how EY almost saw the light, but then this other dude sideswipes him, so he's like, fuck it, I'm a bad guy now. But when you have a character like Aries doing something like this to pull it off, when he's supposed to be a lot smarter than that, then it doesn't really work for me.
Ignorance is curable, but stupid is forever.
Then we've got Kenny King of the Beatdown Clan versus Micah of the Rising. It's not a bad match, but I'm not sure what to make of Micah just yet. He's a weird talent to pin down because he's about the size of an X Division guy, but he doesn't wrestle like one. So I think I'll need to see more of him before I form an opinion. Otherwise, it's typical faction warfare type stuff. I confess I've seen enough of factions in this company to last me for a good long time, so this didn't really grab me as much as maybe it should have. But it wasn't a poorly done segment or anything, and it got over that the Rising are outnumbered and are going to need a 4th man to fight these guys, which I guess was the whole point, so good. Davey Richards beat Manic in a good match, and Davey already has more momentum in the X Division than Rockstar Spud. I had high hopes that TNA might get behind Spud as the X Division champion and really do something with him, but they haven't. It's disappointing, But at this stage of the game, it's not surprising.
I'm on a hell of a lot of fucking Jägermeister!
And TNA may not have saved the best for last, but that sure as hell is what I'm doing. And to the shock of absolutely no one, it involves our Lord of Wrestling EC3. Every second of this EC3 2015 segment was fucking gold. Gold!
Shut up and follow me.
EC3. Cutting this State of the Union address type of promo with the fake polls and the graphics with his face all over the US and shit. Because whether you're a red state or a blue state, we're all EC3 states, goddammit! This shit was hysterical. It was clever, topical, funny as hell, the most flat-out entertaining segment I've seen on any wrestling show in months. And if this is the kind of thing we can expect more of from a potential EC3 world title reign in 2015, then I say, yes he can. Yes, he can! I like this episode quite a bit. There wasn't as much knockout-related stuff as you might think for a knockout-themed show, but with their limited roster, that's not surprising. And with the exception of the actual Terran Kong match not really being what I was hoping for, I did really like all the stuff they did with the women here. The stuff with the men was more hit and miss. The Angle EY Aries thing was a little too contrived for me. The faction warfare was more faction warfare, because TNA just can't get enough of that stuff. But the EC3 2015 promo, my god, home fucking run in that segment. And when you add that to TNA taking several steps to improve their knockout division here, there was a lot to like on Impact this week. Over. Out. Wait a minute. Hardcore Justice is next week? What the fuck?